don't know a lot of times why the students are until you actually go out and start gathering information. So we gathered information. We saw a lot of problems with our students that they're having trouble. And so South Louisiana Community College is a community college in the state of Louisiana. That's where we work. And it services 8 different parishes. Louisiana is under Napoleonic code, so we have parishes, not counties. So we have both academic and workforce. So our workforce division will do anything from truck drivers to captains on ships, to air conditioned refrigeration, your usual vocational jobs. We are in the maritime division, and we are part of SLCC. This division has been going since 1960. So what we have here is first little question. We asked us, what is another name that's used to as a sailor? What other names do we have that can be called a sailor? And we try to keep it clean. So go ahead and try this out.
I'd do it, but I'd be cheating because I know the answer already.
I would. Okay, when you finish, we'll post the results. "30 seconds, no pressure." Oh, there is no cash prize or trophies or anything like that for the winner. Hope we spell it right. 10 seconds. Here we go. We'll post results. Oh, we got it right. Okay, we did in 59 seconds. Okay. All right. Now, great job. And so let's go ahead. We talked about Davy Jones and the process of Davy Jones. And what we're doing now is we're honing it in a little bit more. We found out that a lot of our students, they work offshore, they work in the intercoastal waterway, they work in the oceans. And there's a lot of times that our students basically in real life, when I say disappear, they become unplugged from society because they're in the middle of the Atlantic, the middle of the Pacific, or somewhere in any type of waterway in the world. What we see here, this is a picture, this is Cody. Cody used Gnowbe, and he was working for his apprentice mate steersman endorsement. He used Gnowbe and he passed. And Cody right now is working on a towboat. And let's just see if we can go in and find him. We're going to go to this picture here that we're showing. This is actually every vessel right now that has identification sending a signal. You're looking at about 350,000 vessels, anywhere from a small little boat up to the biggest ships pulling taking the containers and oil. So if you look at the middle of the Atlantic, the middle of the Pacific, and all of those ships, how can we reach them when they're offshore? We try to do cohorts, but the different schedules of the mariners can be anywhere from on the vessel for 14 days on, and then they only get 7 days off, up to 6 months on and only a month or 2 off. So what happens is they're away from long, they leave, and they have different schedules. We can't fit them in like a winter schedule. When we start the student and we go through all the holidays. We can't stop for winter or summer break. We don't have a semester type schedule because the mariners that we serve work 24/7, 365 days a year, and there is no holidays. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to that student that disappears or becomes unplugged, and we want to give them quality, but we don't want to feel that once they leave. I have a captain's license. I ran ships, and my mother said if I could just get a degree, that meant all the world to her. And it's like when the students come to SLCC, they're coming to a community college. We tell them you're in college now, and it really kind of picks them up. but we're trying to reach now more. We want those to keep the quality time. So here you see 365,000 ships, and we're going to see if we can find Cody right now. We're going to go to a software, it's called Marine Traffic, and we're going to look for Cody. And Cody's on the vessel right now, and he's working on the Bailey B. So out of all these ships and vessels, we're going to look for Cody. Mm-hmm. And we're going to show you on the map, right? That's Cody's vessel. Okay. We're going to show you live where he is.
It's so cool.
You can't hide anymore, hardly. So Cody right here, here's Cody right now. Cody's on the job. He's in Texas right now, and he'll probably be heading on down into South Texas. And he goes anywhere from Texas all the way up to Minnesota. And there's approximately 32 spots along the area that he will be out of range from any type of internet. Plus the phone service and everything like that is very vague, but that's one of our students. He passed the course. He has his apprentice mate steersman. He's working on this vessel now because of Gnowbe, where he didn't have the time to go to school. We offered up, we took down the boundaries by allowing him to take his Gnowbe to the boat and be able to study. And then he came in and took the test. And later on, Helen will talk about some of the numbers and data we have to keep. But we have to show the Coast Guard that they actually were studying and they attended the courses in the proper amount of time. And that's one of the great analytics that Gnowbe does. So there's Cody. He's now working as a mate. He tripled his salary just by coming to the college and being able to use Gnowbe. Imagine, he's making now over $100,000. And Gnowbe was a big part of it. SLCC, we're able to look at it and said, how can we help Cody? How can we do it? And it really blew our minds by being able to see that. So here's one person on one boat out of the 360,000 some vessels. Now, when you start looking at your population, and when I said we have blinders on and we're looking at the maritime field, as I said, we're in the state of Louisiana, and sometimes, you're in a college, a community college, a university, or vocational school. Are you hitting all the students? And everybody now says, okay, well, what we'll do is if we have to close for COVID, or we have to close for, we don't get snow days down here, but if we get hurricane days, how is that going to impact the regular student? Well, this question right here, the answer is going to really blow your mind. But in the state of Louisiana, how many residents out of 10 do you believe are unable to purchase internet? 1 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10? Which one do you think it is? All right. And the answer? 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 in the area of state of Louisiana are unable to purchase internet. And all along we've been working, and we have laptops and we have students that have their cell phones, and sometimes we find that, and what we have found, that the student will have a cell phone and be able to use Wi-Fi when they get into the city. And like I said, maybe they don't have Wi-Fi at home, but everybody has a McDonald's, and they can go into McDonald's and do the work as far as online. But what about the time that they're home? Well, Gnowbe gives us that ability to be able to track while they're offline. The state of Louisiana and our college, we have a learning platform called Canvas. And it's most colleges and universities use Canvas or Blackboard. Blackboard. And Canvas, you can go offline, but nothing is tracked. And that was our dilemma. And when we finally found Gnowbe, we looked at the maritime industry and went, oh my Lord, look at all the people that we can help. And then we started doing this survey and we found out this number. And not only can it help us, but imagine the people in the Royal Colleges, the Louisiana Community and Technical College System, there's 14 different schools. And out of that, 6 of them in rural areas. So if we thought all along, here's a laptop, go home and study, That was unable for some of the 7 out of 10 students. Louisiana ranks, I think we ranked 47 out of 50. I know as an educator, sometimes you're thinking we're not hitting our people. So we can do it, and we can hit the people with Gnowbe. Okay. So our solution, SLCC, our division, went out and hunted down and finally found Gnowbe. Our solution is we can take our students and open up and give them Gnowbe, and they can get their education from Gnowbe by what we build, and to get a license. We took a picture of this gentleman actually on the back deck of his vessel, and he has Gnowbe while he's waiting for the other vessel to come around, killing time like we do in doctor's offices or waiting on a plane or anything, or actually on the plane, because you can go actually offline. He can answer a couple of questions, watch a video, and Michelle is going to get in a little bit more about Davy Jones and how we're reaching out to Davy Jones. So the next thing is Michelle.
Thank you, Captain Moore. Let's go over here. All right. What we're doing next is we just wanted to show you a very brief excerpt or example of Davy's class, his Apprentice Mate Steersman online course. So if you click the hyperlink right here, it'll jump you to a sample program, and it's going to come up with 2 choices. And if you can select Start Now on Rules of the Road. So go ahead and hit Start Now. And it's going to tell you you're going into another community, and that's fine. And just hit Got it. All right, here we go. The Apprentice Mate Steersman online course that Davy's taking is for mariners who want to go from the deck of a towing vessel up into the wheelhouse. They want to improve their circumstances and make more money, to be quite honest with you. The course he's taking actually consists of 6 programs. We have a lot of content. Each program comes together to make what we call a suite. So they have to complete all 6 of their programs, and then they come into our office to take their exams. If they successfully pass the exams, they have 1 year to submit an application package to the U.S. Coast Guard to get their Apprentice Mate Steersman's license. So like I said, we're going to show you just a really brief example of part of the course, because it's actually quite large. Let me scroll down here, and we're going to hit Start Now to open the program. You're probably wondering what rules of the road are, okay? Nautical rules of the road have been in place since the 19th century to prevent collisions at sea. It's just like us driving down the rules of a highway, okay? A mariner who's standing watch on the bridge of a vessel has to know who has the right of way, because we don't want boats running into each other. So this is the introductory screen of the program. It tells them what they're going to be learning in the session: distinguishing rights of way, determining types of vessels by their lights, shapes, and sound signals. And it tells them about the learning resources that they need to be successful. And then in the end, they have to take a 50-question quiz, which mimics the Coast Guard exam they're going to take, and they must achieve a 90% to pass the exam. So I'm scrolling down here. The first 3 actions, or the first 4 actions 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, are basically learning resources. Okay. We want them to know how to use these. So in the first action, it's a video action, and we have a short video that shows them how to actually use the learning resources to their best ability. And then you get into actions 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is each of the separate reference materials. For instance, this is the study guide, and you notice it's a PDF, and we make sure in the course introduction, we teach them how to either download it, how to open it in a separate window, or print it if they need to make it easy for them to use. And we have the Coast Guard's navigation rules. This is actually the entire rules of the road. And the illustrations guide. These have to do with the illustrations that are displaying on a boat, so the mariners know who has the right of way and what that boat is doing. And the lights help guide. So then we get to actions 6, 7, and 8. this is an example lesson of one rule. There's 34 rules total, so I'm only going to show you one. But this is rule number 7. It's called risk of collision. So the student needs to carefully read, they're instructed to carefully read the rule, and they have to study these quite extensively to be able to pass the test. So once they've read and comprehended the rule, they move on. And this is what we're trying to avoid here, things like this. We don't want boats running into each other. And unfortunately, it does happen, as most of us know. But basically, the next action describes what the rule is about, what you need to know about this rule, and some hints about the questions on the test. And then they would move on and they would get a sample practice question. I honestly don't know the answers to all these questions, but it's interesting to look. They're saying to determine if risk of collision exists, a vessel which is fitted with radar must use, and they have to select a choice. And in this case, this is a regular quiz action where they're going to see the correct or the incorrect answer. So if I chose radar plotting, that's not the right answer. And the answer does happen to be all of the above. So they get notified that that's right. And then it goes on, and this is just a quick in-app action, nice little inspirational quote. And then finally, they get to take the actual practice quiz. It's a graded practice quiz, a setup with an assessment action so that it's shuffling the questions each time they take the test, that they're getting a different set. And this gives them a real good idea of what the actual test is going to be like. And this takes you right to the practice quiz where they test their knowledge. And it basically repeats that they're going to be taking an actual assessment quiz and it will be graded, so they won't see their results till they get to the end. And I only listed 5 questions here when normally they would see 50. We're just going to skip through them really quick just so you can see. I don't know the answers to these questions. You would have to ask Captain Moore. So we're just going to go through these 5 questions. And anytime as well, the illustrations, if it's too small for them to see, they can click on it and get a larger view. This is the part they like the most, the sample quizzes or the practice quizzes. This is, I think, one of the things they've said is the most helpful to them. And then we wait for Gnowbe to do its magic after we finish answering the questions. And it grades the quiz and it's evaluating. And wow, I actually got 2 right without even trying. That's not too bad. But I needed a 90% to pass and I only got 40. So the student has the ability to try again at this point. They can go back and do it as many times as they want. But I am just going to move on.
Michelle, I think before you do that real quick, I think you've got a question from Audrey on the chat.
How do I see the question, if you don't mind?
No worries. I think if she can go and unmute herself and you can say it if you like.
Go ahead.
Hi, Michelle. This is actually for Nicole and Michelle. So I am just building my first training, and this is really interesting, by the way. So one of my first questions is, as you get on the program details, it says the minutes at like 170. So as I built mine, because it's sort of like the read just rounded up to 1 minute, it really overestimated the time it would take to complete the course. Is there any way to adjust that? I don't know if that's a Gnowbe question or a Michelle question. I appreciate your time.
I know that you could adjust up, to more than a minute, obviously, and that's what I did on all my actions, but I don't believe you can go below a minute. Nicola, you might have to answer that.
Yeah, we can take that offline, but when you go into edit under every action, it has like an estimated time, and then you could go and manually change the time to what you would like. And just set it in the chat, you can actually input 0 to bring down the numbers. So,
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Michelle, you can keep going.
Thank you.
No, that's great. That's a good question. I need to know how to do that as well. All right. So moving on here, it's going to take us to the next session. And of course, again, it lets them know that they didn't pass the assessment and they can try again. The second example we have for you is a program called Chart Navigation, which is part of the suite. So we're going to click right here to go to Chart Navigation. Excuse me. And we're going to start that program. And if it pops back here, just click on chart navigation. All right, this is program 4 in our suite of programs called chart navigation, and it's all about using navigational tools. The Mariners have to be able to use charts, publications. They have to be able to plot courses using navigational tools. So we're going to see a sample lesson on finding latitude and longitude, which is something they need to know how to do. So I'm going to start this program. And once again, we are brought to a screen that lets them know what they're going to be learning in this program, okay, what they need to do to be successful. And it tells them how many questions are on the Coast Guard exam. In this case, there's 15 questions where they literally are plotting on paper. All right. And the first one tells them you're getting ready to watch a do-it-yourself video tutorial. They're going to be doing something called working a per standard compass plotting problem. And I have no idea what that is. Let me, because I don't understand this stuff, you'd ask that him, but let me go here. Okay. And it shows you, we use a lot of video tutorials. We find the students like to listen to the instructor's voice. They can pause it, rewind it, watch it over and over again at any time and go back and practice. So we'll go on to the next one. And basically we're letting them know practice on your own by completing the rest of the problems. And we'll skip past that. And as you can see, it goes on and on. I'm just going to close this for a minute so you can see there's actually quite a few plotting examples in there. All right. And this is where the student can work totally on their own. Okay, now if you notice when we jump to this other program, it opens you up in a separate browser window. You can close that and you should be back at the main program screen, right where we need to be. So Davy's finished taking his course. He comes in and he takes his test and he passes. And this is where his journey is complete. And that's where the analytics begin. And Ms. Helmuth Graff is going to explain that. Slide over. As we do musical chairs.
Hello, world. Thank you for coming to our presentation today. And thank you for taking this journey with us. As you've learned so far, we have unique students. They're non-traditional students that are in non-traditional environments. So we really had to find a platform that would allow us to take our curriculum as regulated by the United States Coast Guard and present it to the student in their downtime, so that way they could attain their goals and reach their career choices. So in doing that, we, as Captain Moore stated, we looked around through many platforms to see what could work for our student, because as he had stated earlier, our student works on platforms offshore, they work on rigs, they may live in a rural area, they don't always have connectivity. So when we came across Gnowbe, which by the way, does everybody know what Gnowbe stands for? It stands for Grow Knowledge into Being. And that is a huge concept for us, because we really do want to grow knowledge and bring it into being globally. We really believe in education without boundaries. We think that education is something that everyone should offer to everybody all the time. Why? Because it empowers us as human beings. It helps us build communities. It helps us grow and be a better world, basically. So having attained a method to reach our students through Gnowbe, we took our United States Coast Guard approved course and built out our suites, as Mrs. Fournette explained to you guys, Michelle. And we were able to let them study online, do all of their work. And then as soon as they hit a Wi-Fi area, everything uploaded to us and we were able to track it. And because the program is approved by the United States Coast Guard, there are measurables that we have to follow. So in the first screen that you see, one of the things that we have to track for the United States Coast Guard, which is the USCG, is how much time a student is spending in the course. They have a set schedule, and some of our courses are 104 hours, some of them are 40 hours, some of them or 8 hours. It just depends on what type of licensure they're going for as to how much time they're required to spend in the program. Gnowbe allows us through the analytics to follow their progress and see exactly how much time they've spent. So for all intents and purposes, this is an actual student's analytics, but we're going to say it's Davy's for today's example. So Davy, apparently he was working in 7 registered programs. He has an 83% completion rate. He's completed 2 of his sessions, and he's spent a total of 706 minutes in specific areas within those sessions. And that's good for us because this is provable data to present to the Coast Guard. So if we get audited or they want to check that Davy did indeed do his work, it's easily seen through the analytics. Okay, so the Coast Guard bases their curriculum and approval on the Code of Federal Regulations, and that denotes how much time a mariner must spend in each section. So we're going to go to the next slide. And the analytics give us a lot of things. They give us general information. Does the curriculum meet the student needs? And in this particular one, you can see we have our sessions built out into rules of the road for the apprentice mate steersman suite. And you can actually see how much Davy completed, how much time was spent in each section. Did he finish it, or is he missing something? And the Coast Guard utilizes these reports to go back and look at the student record to make sure that they covered all materials. We also get to see how the student is interacting within the program. So by doing that, we get good feedback from the student. We are able to report out to our executive leadership teams to show that the college, which our vision is everyday excellence. We want to promote that in all of our students, that we're meeting that vision that our chancellor set for us. So the reportable data also allows us to prove that our graduation rates are improving, are growing. And we've actually seen an uptick by utilizing Gnowbe, because by giving that student the extra time, when they're pulling a hitch offshore and they've got 12 hours of downtime, if they can grab Gnowbe and keep studying, when they come in, they have a higher success rate of completing the program the first time round. Because the information is so intense and there's a lot of it, the students are actually permitted by the United States Coast Guard to take an exam up to 3 times. And this is because we want to go ahead and, they want to give them the opportunity for success. So by utilizing Gnowbe on their downtime, they're able to get it in the first try, if you will. So that's it for the analytics. I'm glad that you got a chance to see our non-traditional student. And our next exercise is, how do you see yourself using Gnowbe's dashboard to improve your programs for your students?
So feel free to open it up for discussion. Any of us could kind of contribute, and you could write the answers on there if you like. That might be helpful. I'd love to hear what people say.
I do too. Any kind of feedback is always great. Okay, so, all right, where do I go, Michelle? Just hit up here? Okay. All right, so since we didn't get any feedback yet, we're going to go ahead and say that Davy earns his certificate, and Mr. Moore is going to wrap it up.
I think if I can jump in there, why is capturing the data so important?
I'm sorry, what was that? I missed the question.
I think I'd love to know kind of on a few levels, like, why is capturing data so important for you guys? I guess for reporting it is, but there'll be multiple layers of that.
There are multiple layers in that. We need to capture data, one, to see how the student is interacting with the program, to make sure that the program is delivering the content needed by the student, that it's user friendly, that it's not over their head. It's because there's a lot of technical information that they have to learn, and that it moves at a pace that meets their learning level, because we have people from all walks of life. So we want to respect everybody's level and make sure that everyone's getting a consistent content. The second one is, again, because Coast Guard regulates exactly how much time must be spent on each session of the curriculum, we have to track that time to the minute. So
Mm.
I actually print out reports for each student saying this student spent this much time in rules of the road, spent this much time in navigation or deck and safety. And that way, if there's an elision later on down the road, if something happens, they're going to pull that student record and see just how well did they do. Did they understand what they were supposed to do in that time frame?
Mm. Mhm.
And so a lot of times the data that we use is because we're a community college, it will actually help us as far as grants go. As far as individual data. Also, I love the data. I'm not a data person, but I love it to let me know that are we missing something, or because it is so much information, have we found the proper way to deliver it? How are we doing class? We actually, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll compare the in-person brick and mortar class, and we'll compare the Gnowbe class and see the
Oh,
times
interesting.
and how it's fitting. So we may be doing a better job on Gnowbe that we need to correct in the classroom. So a lot of data like that.
Wow. Can you speak more to that? I'm so curious, if you wouldn't mind.
Excuse me?
You said in some ways outperforming on Gnowbe versus in person. Is that what I heard you say in a classroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
we
Can
have
you tell me
lecture
more about that? That's so intriguing.
Well, we have lecture classes, and with the instructor, face to face. And there's so many there's so many parts to it that we have to cover, as you saw. And when you have a class of 10 people, you may have 10 people that learn at different speeds. So that we always call it death by PowerPoint. Maybe PowerPoint's not the best way to do for this particular. Maybe we need to do it where we flashcards. They love flashcards. We found that they want flashcards more online than they do in person. But we found out if we offered it and we make it a competition, basically, we'll open Gnowbe for the in-class students, and they can work as a group, and then they have competition, or over the weekend they can question one another if they're having difficulty, or if the instructor, I'll get a note, and we can actually go in and work with them for that. But we compare a lot of times what we're doing in class and what we're doing online. There's been times where people or places will just dump some information online and say they're doing online learning. Learning's not happening. They're just putting information online. And what we do too is when they have a section where they can actually download the course, so when they do go offshore, that the content that they're receiving is not a lot of fluff because of the size and because of what we're doing. We want to make sure that we're not, again, killing them with PowerPoint. So that's the data we do. And gentleman here finished. He got his within a year. Again, he tripled his salary. And well, I guess now we just open it up. Any other type of questions? Any other questions? I love that. I meant we were really good.
I mean, I have another one. If no one else does, I'll give you guys time to think. But what's the feedback from the students about their experience of maybe not just the modality of learning on a phone, but the actual application versus maybe in the classroom, just because my background is education. So that's really interesting to me.
To say they love it is they love it. Again, like we showed you Cody. We asked him if he could, could we use his name and likeness and things like that. And he really wanted whatever we could do for that, the help or to show the good work that we do. So we actually, like I say, Cody, we've had him in our evaluation. And think about this, we've got a brick and mortar class going on, lecture led. We let them into Gnowbe, they practice Gnowbe. So I've lectured now for over 100 hours, and on the critique sheet, they say they love Gnowbe. Gnowbe was really great. And I'm like, yeah, hey, it works. So
I think it's a good tool to complement the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Because it helps reinforce whatever the lecture theory was during the day. So when they go back to their hotel rooms at night, they can actually sit there and mull over what they've learned that day and then apply within the Gnowbe environment to reinforce the theory.
And sometimes a student is just they feel embarrassed to ask a question, where they can go back online later on and start looking at things and go back over and review too.
That's an excellent.
And like everything here that you're seeing in Gnowbe is part of our brick and mortar. We built this from scratch because of the field and the workforce that we deal. It had to be. There isn't a box that we could have done. We're not using it as like independent learning, or we used to call it a course in a box. They take it. So we keep the analytics going for them, that every moment that they spend on Gnowbe is counted. And what that helps out is they can have quality time at home, because when you only have 14 days at home, the last thing you want to be is studying. But again, it's going to help them, but still they'd rather go out and hunt and fish and play with their kids. But they're sitting on a vessel, and they may work 12 hours on and 12 hours off. I can promise you there's not a lot to do during the 12 hours off. I think Benjamin Franklin said being on a ship is like being in jail with water. So not bad, but think about that you're disconnected.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you. I think there's a couple of people that also got questions, so I'll hand it over to them.
This is Audrey. Hi.
Hi.
May I ask a question about student feedback? And my current teaching platform, Teachable, and I send them out to a SurveyMonkey. Is there a way to gather on, and I'm new to the platform, I apologize if this is a stupid question, but is there a way to collect student feedback about whether they've gained knowledge in areas and that type of thing on Gnowbe?
In our program, at the last program is the course conclusion, and I have a survey on there to collect the answers for the same type of thing, to let us know where we need to do better on. And you are in the analytics, you can download that information in the dashboard for their survey. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, that very thing. So I look forward to being able to incorporate that and not do a separate SurveyMonkey.
Right.
You can use the web link tool, Audrey, and put in a Google form or whatever kind of survey as well if you wanted to go even deeper. So it just houses it all within the same platform.
And with Gnowbe, we can actually not on the when they go offshore, but when they're in connection with internet and everything, you can use Kahoot as a learning. There's other different things that you can do. But we're looking, basically, we're trying to keep everything in Gnowbe, because when they go offshore, they won't be able to have anything else. And also when they come in and after they finish testing, they fill out an in-person critique, because that's one of the things we have to monitor, that person is the same person that took the course.
So good.
Good.
Any other questions, guys?
Good.
Oh, we've got one in the chat here. How long did it take the team to complete curating the entire course on Gnowbe? Great question.
Well, you have to remember, this is actually 6 programs in one, and that's one course. We did 3 of them. We did Apprentice Mate, Able-Bodied Seaman, and Master 100 Tons, which are names of courses. And each of those had 5 to 6 programs inside of it. So it's hard to remember hour-wise, but months. I could say months. Of course, at the beginning, there was a learning curve as I was learning Gnowbe, but that didn't take too long. And the programmers and the help people were extremely helpful as I was going. And I'm sure they know me well, because I emailed them all to death every time I had a question. And I still do. It doesn't matter. 3 years later, I still ask lots of questions. But it was definitely, for what we had, many months to get all of these programs up. But now one simple program, you can whip that out on your phone as a curator in minutes. It's very, very easy to do. And I've used Blackboard, Canvas, Moodle, and this has got to be the easiest platform to use for a creator that I've ever seen.
We're not trying to sell Gnowbe here. We're actually trying to highlight you guys. This is the stop.
Sometimes for the times is I know maritime and she knows the ins and outs as far as the program. So it's trying to get a hold of both of us together at the same time, and we'll knock something out. Or what's the best way we want to do this? So we finished and completed them, but to this day, we still change and try to make it better than always make your next class better than the last one.
Amazing. It's such an incredible success story, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I've just realized we're just about at 10:15 here. I was going to just add to that last thought and just say, on average, based on what I've experienced from clients, if they're building out a robust course from start to finish, it's approximately about 3 months, if that helps your question there. So team, we're going to wrap this up and just say thank you to Michelle, Captain Moore, and Helen. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to put this together. It was such a creative way of leading us through the journey of the kind of the everyday student. I really loved the approach, and I learned a lot just seeing kind of how it's used practically. And I was actually, what a fantastic story to see how powerful online learning can be if you use the practical application component. And in some cases, a little superior to what's happening in face-to-face. That's intriguing to me. So I'm going to take that away and chew on it. Thank you so much, team. I'm going to just going to redirect us over to the main Zoom room. You have I believe a 10-minute break at the moment, and we're joining back up PST time. For Fernando, you're going to not want to miss that one. He's talking on the topic of AI, friend or foe, at 10:40 PST. I'll throw the Zoom in the chat and feel free. Michelle, we'll debrief later. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We'll see you all very, very soon in a Zoom room near you.
Thank
All
you so
right,
much.
bye-bye.
All right.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.